Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Chainlink and look at its valuation against USD and its valuation against Bitcoin. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel in the description below. Now, I hope my recent video on Chainlink helped clear up some of the misconceptions from the video before that on Chainlink. But before we get into this one, I just want to reiterate that my stance on Link has not changed. I still contend it is too risky, in my opinion, not to hold. Again, you guys can choose to hold it or not, depending on your own analysis of whether you think it's a worthwhile coin to hold. My point is, if you look at historical data, you can see that your risk-adjusted returns, in fact, are improved, which is also known as the Sharpe ratio, or if you disregard negative volatility and only look at positive volatility, the Sortino ratio, both of those are improved by holding Chainlink in your portfolio in addition to Bitcoin. It's just a fact, right? It's not some emotional game. It's nothing like that. It's just a simple fact that in terms of traditional quantitative finance and modern portfolio theory, having Link in your portfolio, a small amount of it, of course, it's less than my Bitcoin position by a lot, but having a small amount of it tends to improve your risk-adjusted returns over the macro scale. Again, any given week, who knows what's going to happen, right? It's a random walk as far as I'm concerned. Any given week, it's almost impossible to know what's going to happen. Against USD, Link is holding up quite well. And I find it interesting, to some degree, that there are so many people in Link that are so frustrated with the price because, you guys, the people who have been invested in Link in terms of their ROI probably have the least amount to complain about out of most cryptocurrency projects. How many cryptocurrency projects can say that from their all-time high in January 2018, and we're going to even take it from the wick. We're not even going to, who cares about the candle? Let's take it from the wick. Even from that, Link is up 655%. How many coins in the space can come close to saying that? Most cryptocurrencies are down 80 to 90% in USD as measured from the top in 2017 or 2018. So to some degree, if you are in Link, you haven't really experienced that much of a downside. And so whenever we do experience a downside, it can be kind of difficult to stomach just because historically speaking, we have not experienced one for very long. And when we do, again, we are quick. We are more than, typically quick to come back out of it, even if it can take a few months. But even if it does take a few months, it's still a lot quicker than most cryptocurrencies out there. So against USD, we're still actually doing quite well. We are at $11. I will remind you, for those who do not remember, back in March, we were down at around 136 at the bottom. Yes, at the bottom in March, Link was at 136. And now, just a few months, 9 months later, we are at around $12, $11.50. Right now we're at $11.45. So we're still doing quite well. Now, when it comes to its valuation against Bitcoin, yes, it has been bleeding profusely. There's no doubt about it. It does not mean I'm not accumulating Link. I'm still accumulating Link. And the reason is because, I don't know where the bottom is. And for all I know, this could have been the bottom here. This could have been the bottom. I was not buying it up here. I was selling it up here. So, if the argument is, oh, okay, well, we've been, buying Link since the top, it's not true. It was only recently, the last couple months or so, when the Link USD valuation got all the way down here to $7, then $8, and $10, and $11, that I started re-entering my Link position. In fact, my highest buy of Link in recent times, as I said a few days ago, is $11.44, which is right around where we currently are. So we'll see how that plays out. But my cost basis, of course, is lower than that. Now, going back to the Link Bitcoin valuation. We discussed this in a prior video, calling this a textbook bubble. And the reason we say it is because if you just look at the mean, more or less what we were on for the better part of a year, we were on this trend line, had a major bubble, and we've come back down, and I would consider us to be in the despair mode. I don't know how low we're going to go, but rest assured, until Bitcoin volatility calms down, we're probably not going to be gaining too much on Bitcoin, like say tomorrow or anything, not in a sustainable manner. Of course, you can have 10-20% pumps any day, but as long as Bitcoin volatility stays high, we likely will continue to be in the despair territory. However, I do think we will come out the other side. And when we do, we'll look back and say, we'll look at this, wherever we do bottom, and say, yeah, it would have been smart to buy. Again, not financial advice, it's just my opinion on the market. Now, if one thing I want to remind you guys of is if the way that we can say that Link is only going to do well is if it's not bleeding against Bitcoin, well, let's take a look. How far has it bled against Bitcoin? And let's be very let's take it from the wick, okay, all the way to the bottom. A cool 79%. So since the top, and by the way, I was selling some Link to Bitcoin at the top, and we talked about that a lot, but from the top, it's down 79% over approximately 133 days. So a 79% drop in 133 days. Does that preclude it from ever reaching higher highs? Let's look at Ethereum. I've often said that in terms of volatility, it appears that Link is one market cycle behind Ethereum. But that comes with negative volatility too, right? It's not just positive volatility. It can also come with negative volatility. If we take a look at Ethereum, what was this dump? This was an Ether dump over the course of approximately 280 days, and it dumped around 80 to 81%. At the time, Ether dumped from March of 2016 down to December of 2016 against Bitcoin. During that time, March of 2016, this chart just goes back to, this is Coinbase. Let's switch this over to, let's say Kraken. I believe that goes back further. So March of 2016, Ethereum reached a valuation of around $14. It then bled all the way down to around $6. Okay, so let's look at that. From that top down to this wick, a 60% drop in USD. 60% over 288 days. Let's go back and look at Link. What did Link do? From the top down to the bottom. 60% over 133 days. There are similarities, right, between this market cycle for Link and last market cycle for Ethereum. I would argue Link has been outperforming Ethereum. If you take a measured move from, say, this bottom in 2018 to this peak, it was 10,000%. If you go here, it was 2,200%. If you go from this bottom to the top, it was 1,300%. We've seen fairly significant moves of Link USD. If you go back and look at Ethereum USD, from the bottom to the top, this one was around 3,500%. And this took place over 133 days. This one was 5,000% over 168 days. And then if you go back and look at Link USD, we've combined these two, but it's more or less just been in an uptrend, right? It's mostly been in an uptrend since 2018. If we extend this one out, it's performed phenomenally well, over 10,000%. In about a couple years, a pretty decent return. And the reason why that's more impressive for Link, in my opinion, than it was for Ethereum is because Link has done it during a bear market in the crypto asset class. Ethereum did it during a bull market. We've always said we don't know what Link's going to do during a bull market because we've never experienced Link in a bull market. If we measure bull markets based on whenever Bitcoin got above its 20-week moving average. So we're going to look at it here. So in this green region, if we're going to say take it from April of 2020, so let's remove all this and let's go to April of 2020, all the way back over here. So if we take it from here, Link is up against USD approximately 248%. It's doing phenomenally well. It had a bubble, a short-term bubble, not the macro bubble, in my opinion, the short-term bubble, like we've had many of them. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And, to some degree, if we space these out, this one was around 546 days between major bubble to major bubble. This one was on 406 days. And from here, it's already been another 133 days or so. It could be a while before the next one. We really just don't know. So we do know, however, in terms of volatility, Link has bled against Bitcoin 80%. Ethereum did the same thing. Link has bled against USD 60% since the local top. Ethereum did the same thing. Ethereum went all the way back down to, $6, and it still went to $1,400 later in the market cycle. Now, I do not think that Link will go to $1,400 this market cycle. I don't think it will get anywhere close to it. But the point, I do think we will see diminishing returns across the entire asset class as compared to the last cycle and as compared to the cycle before that. Because as amazing as the Ethereum gains were last market cycle, just to show you what I mean, let's take it from the bottom of this wick to the top of this one. A 390,000% move, and just let that sink in for a minute. A 390,000% move. As amazing as that was, it was pretty amazing. Let's go back and look at what Bitcoin did. Okay, so take it from the bottom. Well, if you take it from the bottom of this wick, that was a 300,000% move, but within the first few years, it was up over 1,000,000%. So 1,000,000%, 1.161 million or so. Actually, it's even more than that. I guess I don't normally measure it from the bottom of this wick because I'm not really sure if you could have accurately bought at that point, because it implies, I think it might just be like, one of the scam wicks or something. If you take it from, say, the bottom of this wick or something, it's around 3.5 million. Okay, so this would be 3.5 million, because if you take it from the bottom of here, it looks like it's actually like around 11 million, but I'm not sure how accurate that would be. The bottom of this wick, it's around 3 million. The bottom of these candles, it's around 2,000,000%, 1,962,746%. As amazing as the Ethereum market cycle returns were last market cycle, Bitcoin has still outperformed it in the past. And I think that there's a good chance that the return of Ethereum last market cycle over the entire market cycle might still be higher than the return that you'll get from Link this market cycle, but you never know. Again, Link has already performed better than Ethereum during the bear market. We don't know what is going to happen during the bull. And remember, sentiment can change on a dime. A lot of people think, well, what has Link done for me recently? Sentiment can change on a dime in the altcoin market, and then we'll look back and either say, well, $11 was a hell of a buy, or we'll look back in a few months and be like, oh, look at those schmucks buying at $11 because it bled back down because maybe Bitcoin decided to correct pretty strongly back to the 20-week moving average or something. So there's no free lunch, right? There's always a risk you got to take in order to see the returns. It's not just like you can throw money in the market and necessarily expect to see a nice return without downside volatility. So we've seen the downside volatility against Bitcoin with Ethereum. Here it is with Link. We've seen the volatility to the downside against USD with Ethereum. We've also seen it with Link. If you go look at the weekly RSI, Link USD, we're getting close to where we were here a few months ago, back before we started to turn back around. If we draw a line from where we currently are over, you can see that there's been plenty of times where we've turned around in this ballpark, right? If we maybe draw something like that, there's been plenty of times where we turned around this level here, and here. Also, plenty of times we've gone much lower. If you look at the Link Bitcoin RSI, it looks even worse in terms of where we are. We're essentially getting back to our roots all the way back down. The Link Bitcoin RSI is now at 36. The lowest it's ever been is 33 or so. And we haven't been there since July of 2018. It's been a long time. You can see how far down it is. Technically, based off, generally speaking, if it's below 30, it's oversold. Currently, we're at 36. However, if you look at the daily RSI of Link, it just looks absurd. Frankly speaking, it looks absolutely absurd. Look at it. Just look at it. It recently bottomed around 18. And the lowest we had ever been before that was around here at 26. And this is just new data. New data coming in saying, you know what? Link's never been around with Bitcoin in a bull market. We don't know what it's going to do when Bitcoin's in a bull market. You can see so far, since Bitcoin volatility has been so high, it does not do so well when Bitcoin volatility is high to the upside. Link does really well when Bitcoin's turning sideways for a long time. So again, Whenever Bitcoin starts trending sideways, hopefully we'll see Link start to break out again. Hopefully we'll come back and look at it and say, yeah, this was, this wick all the way down on the RSI, or whether you want to look at it in terms of this capitulation here, maybe that was the capitulation before we could continue on our way and get back up to our general uptrend. For now, we're around $11. We'll see if it holds. Again, there's no free lunch, and I'm not going to pretend like there's an automatic positive ROI that you can just necessarily bank on, because there's not. In the altcoin market, especially the altcoin market within crypto, there's a lot of risks associated with these. We've seen how one news headline can come out and absolutely wreck not only the coin in the short term that it's about, but it can also drag down the entire market with it as well. So one news article can seemingly make a huge difference depending on the severity of that article. So again, keep that in mind when you're investing in this space. Invest in a responsible manner. This is not financial advice. You got to take responsibility, for these investments. At the end of the day, no one on crypto YouTube, on Twitter, can definitively tell you where Link is going. But I guarantee you that if it goes up over the next year or two and goes to $100 or something, then people are going to look back and say, you're so lucky that you bought Link at $10. You feel like, no. This was not luck. This was a calculated investment, and there was a hell of a lot of downside volatility, and I had to pay for that to get this future theoretical ROI. So that's what you tell them in the future if they ever claim that you were lucky. And you show them, right? You show them. I don't know if this is luck, right? I mean, this is an 80% downtrend. Hopefully some of you guys also sold around this area and we're not just buying Link up here. But even if you were, at some point, I imagine Link will bail you out, whether that's in the next week, probably not as likely, few months, a little bit more likely, few years, very good probability that it will continue to resume up. We just need to give Bitcoin the time to figure out where it's going, price discovery mode, let Bitcoin do its thing, then let it chill out for a few weeks, and then it'll be time to shine. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel in the description below. And remember, we do have the premium list holiday sale going on, so check that out in the description below as well. You get access to the weekly reports, videos, indicators, etc. So make sure you guys check that out before the prices go back up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.